F1's favorite media, Drive to Survive, a Netflix series I think started 2018. I
Yeah.
could get all of my facts wrong about this, but Louis nodded and said yes.
No, it's
Um,
2018, yeah.
yeah,
Sounds about right.
2018 gave us a bit of a behind the scenes look at not necessarily all of the teams at the start, but just a few of the ones that were arguably, driving to survive. You had Haas, you had Renault. I think there was even a bit of Red Bull in there.
A lot of
Yeah.
Red Bull.
Yeah, there was a lot of Christian Horner. That's where my hatred for him originally spurred from.
I mean, as soon as you start to find out more about Christian Horner, it's a minefield. But yeah, so it's a show that's been running. It's got a lot of credit for getting in a new audience, but I'm going to start off asking the question, why is it so divisive amongst fans? And I'm going to start with you, Tom, and then we'll see how this conversation goes.
But yeah, like for me, Drive to Survive just kind of appeared on Netflix one day, and I was just like, this is before the F1 boom, right? So it wasn't really like F1 wasn't everywhere like it is now, and I was just fascinated. Like, why they're doing a documentary on Formula One? This is amazing. And then I remember watching it, and it was things like the interviews with Hulkenberg, and then with Gasly getting dropped from Red Bull, I think it was, and I was hooked. I absolutely loved it. And a lot of people don't remember, but they seem to start it, then it had a massive gap, and then they finished it. And everyone seems to think it's that they just did it all at one time. And even the air dates don't line up with what I remember. I distinctly remember watching like 4 episodes, then it stopped for a long time. And I was like, when is it coming back? And then it carried on again. But say the air dates just don't seem to line up to that. So either I'm going insane or they fudged the air dates. But anyway, so like I was hooked on it and I loved it. And then obviously the boom happened. Formula One went global. Not that it wasn't global before. And then things started sliding into it. Now they probably had this anyway, and I didn't really notice too much. But say once Ferrari and Mercedes decided they wanted to be part of it, things just started to get a little bit for the cameras, and you could see people like Daniel Ricciardo were playing to the cameras as well. The first season was much more wholesome, much more of a fly on the wall documentary, and I love that kind of stuff. But it just became a bit too showy for my liking. But the thing is, I'm not the target audience. Like I'm going to be watching every race from now probably until the day that I die. So Netflix is not going to sell me anything. Drive to Survive is not going to sell me anything. But there's a reason why they're bring it out when they do. It's right before the start of the season. It's not a season review because that would be at the end of the previous season. This is trying to create a buzz and excitement about a new season and bring in a new audience for the start of a new season to think, oh, look at all those storylines. We need to pick up on those storylines. They need to do that from the start of the season. You're not going to do that by jumping in halfway through a season. So that's why they're bringing out when they do. They're very clever. They're very calculated. But I just found it was too much of a work of fiction for somebody who actually does remember that, that radio message was 3 races earlier. Why is that in that race for? And like, yeah, that overtake happened 25 laps from the end. They've made it look like it happened on the last lap. It just, and inventing things. I was particularly offended by, they always seem to make Lando Norris look like an absolute, and that annoys me a little bit because I know that he can be sometimes, but like they made out that he was really jealous of Ricardo, and then that followed through into like 2 episodes they did that, and I just found that quite annoying. And they had a similar thing with Carlos Sainz as well, and Lando Norris, and it wasn't like that. And it's not just a Lando thing as well. It's just like throughout the whole thing, they just create issues when there isn't there. And me and my wife used to sit down and watch it as kind of a regular thing. We'd go through every episode and we'd watch it over the course of about 3 weeks, watching an episode during dinner. And then like the last season didn't touch with a barge pole. The season before we got to the change your car episode, and then I was just like, no, I'm done. And I haven't watched it since then. So
A
yeah,
sentence you can say on Beyond the Grid Talk.
yes, exactly. I'm living my best Car King life at the moment, swearing on GridTalk. So like, yeah, that's where it lost it for me. It just became, because you could see Horner playing to the cameras and just playing up to this new audience. And I'm gonna make Red Bull look like the victim here, even though we're this huge entity and everything. So that's why it annoyed me, and I'm going to stop rambling now.